I paused my music. For a second, I thought I heard something. You know how when you've got your headphones on and you're listening to a song and it slaps, but then suddenly you hear something? But when you take your headphones off, there's nothing? That happened a couple of times to me that day. It was raining hard and there was some thunder rumbling in the distance, so I figured it was nothing. Best to just enjoy my long weekend, I thought. But it happened a third time, and this time I was so sure I heard a voice that wasn't meant to be in the music I was listening to. I paused my music again and put my headphones down. Now, it was just me, the house, and the constant pouring rain. I have to admit, for a second, I got scared. I'm not one to believe in paranormal stuff and ghosts and all that, but something about being in the house alone and the rain being so loud gave me goosebumps. Lightning flashed outside my window, and in the blink of an eye, all the lights went out. I looked out into the city and saw how, one by one, every lights went out too. It looked like a citywide blackout. The rain pummeled down on my windows even harder. And as another flash of lightning ripped through the pitch-black night, I heard a scream. That scream pierced through the sound of heavy rain and made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. It sounded like it was coming from downstairs, and I panicked. Why would anyone be in the house? I was so sure I locked the doors. And I locked the gate. Who would be in here? I was probably just imagining it, but something in me told me to go down there. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and ran downstairs. My legs turned to jelly the moment I reached the stairs. I could see the glass doors that led to the backyard, and they were wide open. Water was slowly seeping in from outside, and there were wet footsteps leading into the house. I couldn't move. I was paralyzed with fear. There, in the middle of my kitchen, staring up at me in her white dress, was a ghost. Hey there, my name's Ash. And I found out a dark secret that my family tried to hide from me for years. There was no other way to explain it. She was dead. Everyone knew she was dead. Yet, somehow, there she was, looking up at me with her big pleading eyes, her hair soaking wet from the rain. Wait, did ghosts get wet? I remember asking myself. But I didn't get to answer that question because the ghost of the missing girl whispered my name and immediately collapsed onto the kitchen floor. I ran to her. I forgot that I was scared for my life. Instead, I ran to her and held her in my arms. And it very quickly dawned on me that the girl I was holding was no ghost at all. Sarah was very much alive. She was cold as death, but she was, in fact, still alive. I felt her breath against my skin. For years we all thought she died. Sarah went missing 15 years ago. The whole city was turned upside down. We all went to vigils. We volunteered to be on search and rescue teams. We posted posters with her face on them. And after 2 years of searching, people finally gave up. Her parents finally accepted that she was probably dead, and it was horrible. See, Sarah was probably the prettiest girl in town. She was always winning beauty pageants, and she was supposed to fly to New York to make her dreams of becoming a high-fashion model come true. But 2 weeks before her flight, she vanished. Everybody in town knew her. She was like our city's favorite daughter. To us, she was America's sweetheart. And for something so horrible to happen to her, it broke a lot of people's hearts. Nobody knew what happened to Sarah until now. But how? And why? Why was she at my house? How did she even get in? I was determined to get answers. So I did my best to warm her up and get her to wake up. I covered her in blankets and I started a fire to warm the house. But when I felt her hand, it was still so very cold. I started dialing 911 because I was afraid she was suffering from hypothermia, but then, to my surprise, the front door burst open. My mom and dad rushed towards me and grabbed Sarah. They dragged her away down to the basement. Mom was screaming at Dad.
I told you! We shouldn't have gone on that stupid trip. I knew something was going to go wrong.
Stop shouting at me!
This is your fault! This is all your fault! I bet you forgot to lock the door again like I told you.
I didn't forget anything, woman!
So how could she have gotten out? You forgot again. Jesus freaking Christ, Ed. 3 times this week. Seriously? You never do anything right.
Just shut up and open the dang basement door! This girl's heavy! I couldn't believe my eyes. My parents were just dragging Sarah's unconscious form down the stairs to the basement like it was an everyday thing for them. I couldn't even speak. They were supposed to be on a trip to Hawaii for the whole week, and here they were for some reason just in the nick of time, and somehow they didn't find it odd that a missing girl was in our house? And then something clicked. Wait, Mom, Dad, has Sarah been in here this whole time? Mom just looked at me as if I was a nuisance. Dad was white in the face.
This doesn't concern you, son. Now stop gawking around and help your dad carry this girl downstairs.
Dad wasn't saying a word. He was just looking at me wide-eyed as if he just noticed that I was there and that I was seeing something I wasn't supposed to see. He's not supposed to find out, Vera. What are we going to do now? Mom just shushed Dad and she told me again to help them out. And I don't know why, but I did. I helped them carry Sarah downstairs. Mom tied her up and we went back upstairs as if nothing was wrong. I wanted to run. I wanted to call the cops. But Mom locked me up in my room. She took my phone, she took my laptop, and made me swear not to tell anyone about what I saw. She said if anyone knew Sarah was with us, they would take all of us away. They would put us all in jail. I didn't understand that at all. Why would I be in trouble? I knew nothing about it. I found it hard to sleep that night. I was so scared. At about 3 in the morning, my eyes were starting to close from fatigue when I heard glass break. I bolted upright and realized that my parents were fighting. They were trying to keep it quiet, but I could still hear them when I put my ear to my door. That was when I learned another secret that my family was keeping from me.
He can't know that! He can't! Why would he still be here if he knew that he wasn't our son?
Who knows? You saw him holding his phone when we came in. What if he was about to call the cops? We don't know how long that girl had been out. She could have spilled the beans by then.
He has no idea what's going on. He's a good kid.
I don't trust that dirty McLaren blood in him. Those people are traitors. You know that. They promised they would pay for everything. And what did they do? They wanted to send our daughter away to New York. Our daughter! And what? We don't see a single dime she makes as a model? They said they would pay us for all the good fortune they got from having her. We should be the ones making money off of her, not them.
In under a minute, my whole reality caved in. Suddenly, I learned I was not my parents' son, and that the girl who had been missing this whole time was my parents' daughter? I was so confused. But more than anything, I was afraid. Mom mentioned something about keeping me locked up or tying me up in the basement with Sarah, so I knew I had to do something before they did. I used the heavy rain and the thunder to my advantage. I climbed down from my bedroom window. Luckily, nobody knew that I'd been using the roof to slip out of the house whenever I was grounded, so they had no idea I could escape from there. I almost slipped and fell, but I made it down to the bushes that hid one of the basement windows. As quietly as I could, I tried to pull it open, but it didn't give. It was stuck. So I hoped against all hope and waited for a lightning strike. And the moment a thunderclap ripped through the sky, I kicked the window and shattered the glass. I didn't have time to think. I untied Sarah and woke her up. I guided her out of the basement through the window, and we just ran. It was a miracle my parents never saw us escape. If it hadn't been raining hard that night, I think Sarah would still be tied up in that basement. And my parents would have tied me up right next to her. We ran straight to Sarah's house, and that was where I found out everything. Sarah and I had been switched at birth, and my real parents were Sarah's parents. When they found out what happened, my birth parents tried to get me back, but my non-biological parents refused. Instead, they demanded money from my real parents, saying that if they wanted me back, they needed to pay. So little by little, my birth parents sent money to Ed and Vera, but they never gave me back. Eventually, they stopped getting money, and Sarah started bringing a lot of money and luck to my birth parents. Ed and Vera got jealous. They felt like they got robbed, because if Sarah wasn't switched with me at the hospital, they would be the ones getting lucky. So they kidnapped her. But things didn't go as planned, and Sarah had to stay hidden for all those 15 years. Ed and Vera were arrested, of course. My birth parents called the police the moment Sarah told them what happened. As for me, my birth parents took me back. Now my greedy adopted parents are in jail, and finally I'm back where I belong. And now, I also live with Sarah, who they've legally adopted as their daughter. One problem, though, I've always had a crush on her, and it's really bugging me. It's not like we're actually siblings. What would you do? Should I ask Sarah out?